David is in court to claim £850 for a painting commission he lost out on after his friend used the image without his permission. Defendant Candy says David gave her permission to use the image, so therefore she owes nothing.
Now, do I have David here?
That's me.
Splendid. And now, Madam, you're Candy, is that right?
That's my name, darling, thank you.
Now, let's just be clear. The only person that calls me darling would be entitled to half of my property in the event of a divorce. Do you understand?
Copy that.
Splendid. Now, that's your alter ego, but because it's a legal dispute, and depending on when you had conversations, I also need, if there is one, your other name as well.
Yes, my other name is Aidan.
For the purpose of these proceedings, bearing in mind how you conduct your business, I'm going to call you Candy with your permission.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Now, David, you look very, very artistic. You are an artist, is that right?
Correct, yeah.
But you haven't always been a figurative artist. That's true to say, isn't it?
Because I was a performance artist.
Exactly. For a long time, you're a performance artist. And you knew David as a performance artist, didn't you?
We used to be friends.
What did David do?
David was a drag queen called Dusty O, and she was the most famous drag queen in London.
Now, let's have a look at your alter ego then. Now, that's you, I think, on one of your nights. The two of you are together. How long had you done it before you quit? How many years?
I've done it professionally since I was 18, and I finished when I was 47.
Wow, so the better part of 20 years or so. To run a drag night?
Yeah, I did. I ran a club called Tranny Shack, which was...
Tranny Shack?
Tranny Shack, which...
I'm mildly shocked. Given the glamour of drag, that you'd put all of these so-called trannies in a shack. Was it in a shack?
It was right in a shack.
It was actually in a very plush, beautiful West End venue.
And I suspect there was the most brilliant entertainment.
Yeah.
Various acts, all sorts of variety. I would have thought.
Stars from all over the world used to come.
How interesting. Now, Candy, when you came to this country, were you already working as a drag artist?
I did, yes.
And where you came from? Hungary?
From Hungary, yes.
And you wanted to get into the scene and get better and better, presumably.
Yes.
So you rather admired him, dusty as he was then. Now, how did you get to know him?
Well, I went to this club, Tranny Shack, and I met him here, and I approached him, tried to speak to him, but he was basically running away from me.
How was it that you eventually persuaded David to give you a job?
It took years.
It was in a competition that I used to run, a yearly competition.
What was the yearly competition called?
It was called Dusty O's Tranny Academy.
I'm not looking at you for any reason, Michelle. I presume you didn't enter. No.
Not that year.
Now, Candy, you entered this competition.
I did, yes.
Now, according to your reply, the reason you entered this competition was because, amongst other things, you especially wanted to get David, then Dusty's, attention. What did the competition involve?
Well, it was different tasks every week, and it was mostly about performing.
Now, in addition to being a drag artist, you also have other businesses, correct?
Yes.
And this is where we get into some difficulty. One of your other businesses, which is the subject actually of this dispute, is that you produce what I'm going to call artistic fashion.
Thank you.
Can you explain to me what it is? What do you do?
Okay, I started to design T-shirts, and for the designs I got inspired by the drag queens in the London and I would say in the UK scene, and it became quite wanted, I would say.
But the T-shirts, which I have to say are very nice, and they're certainly very artistic, are by and large, if not entirely, inspired by the LGBTQ community. And you've been quite successful at selling them, correct?
Yes.
Mainly directly. Now, they all look like either they're inspired by drag, or certainly you can see the dotted line between the exuberance of various features of the LGBTQ community and the design on those T-shirts. Do you see what I mean? Now, David, you are an artist, and I have to say, having seen some of your work, a legitimate one. You sell some of your work online, correct? Is that how you, by and large, sell your work?
Mainly through word of mouth.
And your reputation is terribly important, as is protecting, same for you, by the way, your intellectual property, your T-shirts and your art, right? Now, you, online, have various designs, including the design which is the subject of this dispute. Describe to me, if you can, the design. I haven't seen it.
It was a commissioned piece. Someone asked me to do a picture of a horse, and a horse isn't something that I would naturally paint. It's something that doesn't particularly interest me. I tried to add the essence of what I paint into the horse, how I do it, and yeah, so he asked me to paint a picture of a horse.
Well, this was your first commission.
It was.
Had these people, had you finished the work and been paid for the commission before you put it on your website?
He hadn't paid me anything.
What was the agreement?
The agreement initially was £850. He wanted quite a large picture, and I don't usually paint them that large, so I knew it would take me more time. I was fairly naive at that point as well. Now I would always ask for half up front before I started a commission.
Did you take a photograph of the artwork and put it on your website?
I put it on my Facebook profile.
In other words, anybody in the world who was a friend of yours, and whatever your settings were, but a friend of yours who could see your photographs would be entitled to see that piece of work.
Yeah.
Correct?
Correct.
Now, this is an important moment. Let's have a look at it, if we may.
It's not actually finished. Before you judge.
It's very seahorsey, actually. Is it in pastels?
No, it's in acrylics and spray acrylic. The next phase that it would have gone through, if it would have gone to completion, because that isn't completed, that's a
How long
third
did that take,
phase.
though? Sure.
About a week and a half.
And it's very dreamlike, and it's certainly very original. It's sort of dreamlike, yes?
Yeah. What I would have done next is it would have been photographed very high res, and then digitally enhanced and distorted, and then finally it's printed onto a hard acrylic background, so it has that extra shine.
It almost
as
looks
well.
like a sort of photograph of a piece of art.
Yeah.
Right, okay, understood. But it's a good original piece of work.
Thank you.
Did the person who you made that for, as an original commission, tell you that they liked the work before you put it on your website?
Yes.
It's very important. Why didn't you ask for payment at that stage from this third party who is not here?
Because it wasn't completed, because there was the other 2 stages to go. It was a work in progress.
Now, I have to say that to me again.
It was a work in progress.
Very important. Did you get a written contract between you and the person who
No.
you had this commission with?
No.
It's a very big shame. Now, Candy, this is where things get difficult. At some point, you had a conversation with David. There's no dispute that there was a conversation. It's about what took place. So I'm going to ask you first, what discussion did you have with David about putting something on one of your T-shirts? What did you say?
Well, we were talking about my T-shirts. We were talking about his pictures as well, and I just asked.
You say
if
his
I could-
pictures, you mean his paintings?
Yes.
Where would you have seen his paintings?
I've seen it on Facebook. I've seen them, a couple of times.
Understood. Now, language here is really important. Did you say, I'd like to use one of these pictures on my T-shirts?
Yes, I would like to use one of your pictures on my T-shirt, but he thought.
Don't tell me what he
All
thought.
right.
You can't tell me that. Only
Okay.
he can.
All right.
Now, after you'd said that to him, did you specify what painting you'd like to put
No.
on one of your T-shirts? Once you decided it and you'd taken the image, where did you get the image from? From Facebook?
On Facebook, yeah.
Understood. Did you telephone Dave and specify what painting you were going to use?
No, I didn't.
Did you send him an email or put anything in writing about what image you were going to use?
No, I haven't. No.
Now, David, what about you? Is that correct? Did she say, I'd like to take one of your photographs and put it on a T-shirt?
Yes. She said pictures.
She said pictures?
Yeah, she said pictures. But that's not a picture, it's a painting.
Well, that's a very difficult legal issue to decide. What did you understand she meant by the word picture?
I understood that judging by what I'd seen previously, which was pictures of well-known London drag queens and UK drag queens, that it would be a picture of my old alter ego, Dusty O, and I would have gladly, and did gladly, give her permission to do that and to make as much money out of it as she wanted to make.
You certainly didn't think she was going to take a photograph and use one of the paintings on the T-shirt.
No.
Understood. Well, why didn't you email her or put in writing? When you say picture, I have no problem with you using my Dusty alter ego on any of your T-shirts. Why not write that to her?
I should have done.
Coming next.
How did you first find out that this had happened?
I first found out when the guy who commissioned it cancelled the commission.
Well, it's not fun.
No.
Sponsored by Patient